thing would be just continuing to maintain that responsible growth and to continue to look at what the character is of Meade County and making sure that that growth falls within the character and how we want to continue to grow our communities. I guess as far as a second one, I think based on what's happening in our area that zoning might become something that we need to look at in the future. So I haven't been living in the county long enough to know a lot. I know a lot of the history that there is no zoning in Meade County, so I'm still learning about that aspect of it. But I think that could be something that will be on the table soon.
And have you had any business with Meade County's planning office in the past 5 years? Do you have any future construction plans within its boundaries? And if so, what has been your experience and what type of activity was it?
I do not have anything personally, and currently I don't have anything professionally through SEDC. So just working with the individuals in my role as in economic development, just asking questions or helping people try to find the right answers is where I'm currently at. So unless my organization would do a project within the county, then we would look at working with the office, but nothing is currently planned.
Do you think that being on SEDC and promoting growth within the county and being on the planning board could be perceived as a conflict?
I do not. I think that the positions pair well together, and I don't see it as a conflict. And I have discussed that with members of my board, and they don't feel that it's conflict either. So.
Any other questions from the commissioner? Are you getting
time commitment? So that was the other one, is kind of making sure that everybody that is applying for these roles does understand it's not just the 4 hours during the day on Monday, one Monday a month. It does take time to put into that. You have the time commitment to do that?
Yes, I would. I would do that in my personal time in the evenings, not as a part of my professional role. So.
Any other questions from the commission? Well, thank you, Amanda, for applying and interviewing. Would you be interested in the 9-month term as well, if needed,
yeah.
if need be to serve in that? Okay. Sure. Well, thank you for applying and interviewing and coming in today.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Thank you. Number 4, Mr. Dane Boomsma. Morning, Dane.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. I'm good. I'm well. I'll reiterate what Commissioner Deering said. You guys have a tough task at hand. Just being the third one, you have very well qualified applicants thus far, so that's good for the county. I am a resident of Meade County, obviously. I have not lived in Meade County my entire life. I have lived most of my life just south of Meade County in Pennington County. I call hometown in New Underwood, South Dakota, who is highly influenced by the Meade County residents to the north, Commissioner Deering being one of them. So that community, like I said, I call home, or my hometown. I manage and operate an active farming and ranching operation in Meade County, as well as spills over into Pennington County. That is my passion. If you don't have that passion, you're probably not in that business. My businesses that I run a couple of different construction companies. I develop property. I have developed property within the Meade County bounds. I won't expound on that. I'll wait for the question. I also own an underground civil utility company. I'm interested in this position. I serve on a couple of boards. I'm on the Black Hills Home Builders board, as well as the exec board at that organization. I am the treasurer currently. I've served as the president twice in my past. I've served as secretary. I've served as board advisor. That is growth, building, development is something that I'm very much involved with, as well as interested in, have over 20 years experience. Meade County, I will go out and say, is probably the most diverse county in the state when it comes to not only an agricultural community as well as the urban growth. So it's very important. I feel whoever is chosen has that diversity, how to protect those property rights, yes, yet have some smart growth. I feel growth in the areas against existing infrastructure is important, but still maintaining property rights through that process. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Any questions from the commission?
Well, when I read your resume, I thought you were one busy man. And then I went to your Facebook page and I saw, and they're also all into roping. Anyway, I'm going to start with the second question first. What do you believe are the two main planning issues facing Meade County, and what suggestions do you have for solving them?
Well, Meade County, statewide right now, TIFs are a big controversial topic. And I know Meade County has entertained and approved TIFs in the past. I think that is going to be really critical moving forward. With costs increase as much as they have, TIFs are there as a tool to be used wisely, but...
Well, in the second question, I think you probably are ready to answer. Have you had any business dealings with the Meade County Planning Office in the last 5 or more years? And do you have, what are your future construction plans within boundaries?
So the answer is yes. I have had previous projects beyond 5 years. I think the first platted property I was involved in was back in 2004 or 5. Now, the majority of the platting projects I've been involved with are annexed into Box Elder. And so even though it's Meade County, it is governed by the Box Elder City Council. I have had some rural areas get platted off into ranchettes, for lack of a better term. I have dealt with Tanya in the last few years. Tanya and I, although we have not always seen eye to eye, we've always been very respectful with one another and understood each other's position and ultimately come to an agreement before we come in front of the board, which I feel is very important, whether I'm on the private side or on this board. Staff is the experts, and I very much respect the fact that the continuity and consistency amongst the staff is very important. I think Tanya does a good job, and it would be great to work with her on a planning board scenario.
Thank you.
So Dean, thanks for applying for this as well. But I know you got a lot going on too. Do you think, kind of in the conflict side of this whole deal, is being a builder and a developer and having all of those pieces? How do you perceive that conflict and stepping out of those decisions and all of that stuff?
Yeah, I definitely see scenarios where there would be a conflict of interest that I would have to abstain from certain projects. Like I said, the majority of my projects actually are in Pennington County, which puts me in a good position just because I have the experience. I've crossed the paths. Ordinances are great. They're there. Not all projects fit ordinance, and that's why we have planning. That's why we have a board of commissioners to address those issues in a case-by-case scenario. So although I don't anticipate a whole lot of conflict of interest, those would be dealt with on a case-by-case scenario, and transparency is key. If there's any conflict at all, I would definitely disclose up front.
And then time commitment, I'm assuming, being a business owner, it takes time to do all these things, and commitment, you'll be committed.
Yeah, that's pros and cons. I am also the chairman of the Government Affairs Committee for Black Hills Home Builders. So in that position, we keep a really close eye on all government entities, counties, and cities in a 50-mile radius. We get an email almost every morning, and so I go through every agenda in that area anyways. So I'm pretty in tune on what's coming, what's going on. If there is an item of interest, I'm already going back and reading minutes and seeing what decisions were made. As far as the time commitment, I am self-employed, so I've committed myself that those meetings will have my time and attention. There's a lot of agenda items that I background and research today, not being on the board, understanding those ordinances, digging into those ordinances. I also have a very good staff that can help me with some of those items when digging into specs, ordinance, etc.
Any other questions from the commission?
How many people do you employ?
It's plus or minus 55-ish. So as you can imagine, I can't do that on my own and still support my kids' roping habit.
Any questions from the commission? Thank you, Mr. Boomsma, for coming in today, and we will let you know.
Is he interested?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Would you be interested in the March, the short-term one? Okay, thank you. Randomly selected number 2. This is Cecilia Faulkner.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm C. Faulkner. On the commission now. Enjoy it. And as an incumbent, I can tell you that there's a lot that goes on that board, as you are all well aware. Research, yes, there's a lot of that when you're looking at the agenda, especially when it comes out on Friday and you're looking and you're like, oh my gosh, what do we got to look at? So as an incumbent, I'm well aware of the time commitment, the issues that we've got before us, and those kinds of things. Personally, I operate Farmers Union Insurance in Piedmont. I live in Piedmont. I'm also on the Piedmont Fire Board, secretary. All my family is in Illinois and Wisconsin. So my husband and I are transplants, and we've been here for, it'd be 13 years. So we enjoy Meade County. Have no intention of going back. Illinois is no fun. That's me.
Hey, thank you, C. Any questions from the commission?
The quiet one will start again.
I don't think you're ever labeled.
I feel your pain, Doreen.
You're saying Earl's going to start, or what?
Okay. What do you believe are the two main planning issues facing Meade County, and do you have any ideas for solving any of these issues?
Being on the planning board, I can attest to growth is probably our biggest issue in this county. Planned growth, you know, we did the 10-year plan, so trying to work through that and make sure that we're growing according to what we put in that plan is key to the growth in this community. Managing it, making sure that we're making good decisions and being prepared for what's 7 to 10 years down the road, not just what's today.
Have you had any business with Meade County in the last 5 years or more, and do you have any future construction plans within our boundaries?
Well, I pay my taxes. Also on the commission. We have no further construction plans. So,
See, since you've been on the planning board, what's one thing that you didn't expect to learn or know that was such a challenge when you got on that board?
I think the biggest learning curve for me has been dealing with the tax increment. Was not aware of TIFs before I came on the board, and crash course. And it's been really interesting, you know, for our own TIFs that we've had before us recently, and then watching Pennington County and their saga.
Yeah, that's an interesting one there for sure. And then, do you see something in you know, in the course of, you've been on that for 3 years, is that right? In that time frame, is there something that we can do, or the
So some of it, back to the tax increment. I mean, that was new, and that was, I don't want to say scary, but you know, when you're looking at what you're doing, you need to make sure you've got all your I's dotted and T's crossed. I think Tanya's staff does a great job of trying to keep us apprised of what's coming up. Would it be nicer to have it a couple days earlier? Probably. Would I get to it any sooner being a business owner? Probably not. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. You know, where does it fit in? Honestly, for me, you know, Sunday night is a night to kind of regroup and plan. So it's a great time for me to sit down and look at what's out there and research. So.
And I thank you for all your time on the board. I think it's been great having you on there. So.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Any questions from the board? And would you be interested in the 9-month term if
Sure.
so chosen for that? So, thank you. I want to thank you as well for your time that you spent on the board. Like you said, it is a very busy board, and there's a lot of time that you put into that. So
It is. It's really, I've enjoyed it. So I thank you guys.
appreciate you applying and for the 3 years you spent. So. Randomly selected number 7, which is Mr. Philip Nelson.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Philip Nelson, graduate veterinarian from the University of Minnesota. Practiced over 50 years. Moved here August of 23. I have a daughter that lives down below the house that I ended up buying in Piedmont in a housing development. Well, my father was a contractor, and I grew up doing construction work, pretty much done construction off and on, but been involved with a lot of projects. My dad built custom homes, churches, commercial property, that kind of stuff. I've been involved in haven't been involved, but I've been before planning boards before and trying to work through problems. Basically, you asked me what I did, I'm liable to tell you that I'm a problem solver. I have common sense, interested in citizens' rights, and, you know, how do you work through the problems that come up, but I'm not afraid to make difficult decisions. I've done them all my life. You can't always fix everything. And, but I think you got to do the best job that you can, and I think there's times when you have to make difficult decisions, and you need to make them. And so I have time available. I'm not currently working. I may end up getting a license here because I would like to do a few things yet, but I'm not looking for a full-time job. My day's pretty open. And involved in my church, been involved in a lot of other organizations in my life, worked with a lot of people, sold my practice in Minneapolis in 2011, managed it after that for a number of years, kind of gave that up about 6 years ago, but I still own the building. I still go back there periodically, not intending on moving from here, and
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nelson. Is there any questions for Mr. Nelson?
Well, you know, I'm sure life in Minneapolis, I know life in Minneapolis is a lot different than life out here. Was it a hard adjustment? I'm going to ask you that before I get to the other two questions, because, but sometimes an outsider can bring in a different view than what those of us that are here see every day.
Why I moved here is a long story. Can't get into it here. But my daughter moved out here. She married My daughter went to school in Vermilion, and we have vacationed out here a lot. So I'm familiar with the area. My son-in-law that my daughter married is from Miller, and he wanted to live in the Black Hills area. So they're both accountants working from home. They ended up moving here, and after my daughter moved out here in Piedmont, and came out visiting her quite a bit, and, ended up here. But I'm happy to be here. I'm not going anywhere. I don't miss the big city.
I wouldn't miss Minneapolis right now either. Since you've been here, can you give us an idea of what you perceive as the two main planning issues facing Meade County, and do you have any solutions?
Well, I think growth, but I think finances. And when you have a limited income, you got to make tough decisions. There may be better ways to spend money. There may be other ways to help increase the tax base, but I think it's a pretty difficult struggle of what to do, and I'm not afraid to look at those kind of tough decisions and figure out how to make things work. And I've come across many, many difficult situations in my life, and I have always had things come to me on how to solve these things. So.
Well, since you moved here a couple of years ago, I assume you've had some experience with the Meade County Planning Office since you got here. And how did that go? And do you plan on having
directly? I
haven't
had anything. I've been down here because I've been interested in some of the things that are going on, but I haven't needed to come to them for anything that I have done. I bought a big house that needs a lot of upkeep, and I've spent my time staying busy doing that, and I don't see that ending in the future. I may at some point build a shop, barn type thing, but at the moment, I'm not doing anything.
Thank you.
Well, one of the things that we have a challenge of within the county is, and obviously the commission's got a challenge with this too, but the diversity between the area by faith versus the area by Rapid City, and how our information is in there.
Well, you can't go into any of these. Things with a preconceived notion that you're not going to do this or you're not going to do that. I think you need to look at each individual situation, and then I think since government stems really from the people giving up certain rights, I think you need to be concerned about the people involved. And I don't know that there's a one-size-fits-all situation. I think you need to maybe make some adjustments here, and sometimes doing the right thing. You just have to see that happens. So every situation is going to be different and needs to be examined on that basis and look into it. I'm not afraid to talking to people and trying to figure out what it is to solve the problems that are going to come up, because I don't think anybody can figure out what the next problem is going to be around here. But it's going to take some thought in order to do it in such a way that benefits the citizens and the community, and the growth that happens is going to be best for overall.
And then you answered my time question, so we're good.
Any other questions from the commission? And would you be interested in serving on the 9-month term
Sure.
if asked? So,
Yeah.
okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Nelson, for applying and coming in today.
And welcome to Meade County.
Randomly selected number 6, which is Mr. Devin Dennis. Morning, Mr. Dennis.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Well, a lot of people might know me by the way of my son, Mr. Wyatt Dennis, of Wyatt's Lemonade. So I've been in Meade County since fall of 2016. I moved up from Colorado. I was originally born over East River, over in Sioux Falls. Graduated high school out of Omaha, Nebraska, and then went to Colorado, where I spent 22 years, and then finally came back to my home state. I got to marry my best friend, and we always came up here for vacation. And, of course, we all probably know what that vacation probably was, Sturgis, South Dakota, coming up for the rally. And we knew that we didn't want to raise our son in that high population environment of Colorado and some of the things that they were doing. So we had the opportunity to move up here, and we jumped on it. Since I've lived up here, I've originally started, my first house was up in Golden Valley, up on Haines, and then we bought the place that we have on Sturgis Road now. We've never felt more at home in Meade County that we do now. We found ourselves a little plot of land, and we really enjoy it. My biggest reason for wanting to join onto the planning board is I love my community, and I want to serve the people in my community. If you don't love where you live, you won't love to keep it looking nice and looking the way it should be, I guess, for lack of better terms. A little bit about the way I hold myself is I'm kind of a black and white kind of guy. I'm an auto mechanic by trade. I was trained at a community college, and I've got an associate's degree, and they teach you a theory of how to do things, and if you follow that theory, 99.9% of the time, it works. But that 1.1% of the time, you got to think outside the box and say, guys, this really doesn't work this way. So when I apply that to a planning, you have the ordinances to keep things set black and white, but you also got to know that sometimes you need to vary from that. And that's when that 0.1% comes in, is you look at what is presented and what may affect somebody else and say, okay, wait, the ordinance is great here, but over here it's going to affect somebody not in a positive manner and not the way Meade County wants it to be. So then we make that variance. I can commit all the time I need to commit to this. I am a full-time job. I have talked to my employer about the commitment that it takes for this, and he is standing behind me 100%. He's a very community-oriented man as well. He's down in Pennington County, but he's been there for 35 years, and he gets it. And that's pretty much me as a nutshell. I mean, I am who I am, and I'll listen to others and think what's right and what's going to help everyone in a positive way.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Any questions from the commission?
The chair has no questions. Okay. What do you believe are the two main planning issues facing Meade County, and what suggestions do you have for solving them?
Well, the biggest I see is growth. I mean, people are wanting to move away from the high population areas, and they're wanting to come into their nicer, more open places. So we're going to have a huge influx of people coming, and they're going to be coming soon. And if you don't have the right board to handle that influx of people and keeping your community the way you want to keep it, it takes a whole team. And I think Meade County needs to keep an idea that we're not a sleep community anymore. We're going to have a lot of people coming up here, and we need to be ready for it.
Question number 2. Have you had any business with Meade County's planning office in the last 5 years? And do you have any future construction plans within its boundaries? And what has been your experience, if you have had activity with the planning, be it Tanya or Bill Rich or the board or Talbot?
I personally haven't done any construction, and I have zero construction planned. I do, however, have a neighbor that's building a subdivision, and that's how I learned about planning, is I had to make sure I was protected, but also make sure that he could do what he wants. I'm the last person that wants somebody to tell me what I can and can't do on my own dirt. But I also want to make sure that that neighbor's protected. So I got to meet Tanya, and I got to meet Mr. Talbot and the whole board, and it's been a fun time, actually. I've learned a ton. Okay. I've got a great research engine at home. I don't use Google. I use my wife, Robin. She loves to do research. And between the two of us, we got a lot done.
Okay. Thank you.
Devin, you mentioned variances. So, obviously in our world, we have, ordinances set up, and people are, if they don't agree with the ordinance, they can apply for a variance. Sometimes we get some really interesting requests for a variance, and it doesn't make sense, and sometimes they do make sense. But how do you? We don't have zoning, so how do we leverage the ability to allow a variance on, maybe a county road width, right? So somebody says, hey, I want to build this subdivision back here. It's already on a road that's 24 feet wide, and it's supposed to go to 28 feet. How do you leverage your reasoning for when that variance would be applied and when it wouldn't be applied for something that 20 years from now that could really affect that growth?
That's a great question. Let's take just the road for an example. We need to widen that road, and that's the variance they want. So now we're going to encroach onto somebody else's property potentially. So we need to check with that landowner and see what their ideals are. Are they okay with that? So this new subdivision is going to go in because of this wider road. So now it's going to handle more traffic. What's that going to cost Meade County for expense of maintaining that road? We also need to be looking at how many more people are going to be coming in because that road is now wider. There's a lot of variables. That is the drainage ready for it? There's no real cut dried answer on something like that because you have to look at every variable that may be affected by it.
I agree. I'm just asking.
Mm-hmm.
And you answered my time questions.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. And would you be willing to serve the 9-month term as well?
I most definitely would, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your application and coming in today.
Thank you.
Randomly selected number 5, Mr. David Good. Oh, I apologize. I didn't get. Yeah, I apologize.
All right, just wanted to make sure I was the right person.
Yeah. Application says David Good. I apologize.
Hey, that's all right, sir. Good morning, commissioners. Thanks for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Dave Goodwin. I grew up in Rapid City, not by choice, and moved to Meade County in 2009. So first living in Blackhawk, and now reside just outside of Piedmont. Throughout my adult life, I've always believed in giving back, and I think the greatest way to give back is by giving your time. So I've served on numerous boards throughout my life. Probably the most notable is a gubernatorial appointment to the South Dakota Public Safety Communications Council. I've actually served under 3 governors and continue to serve that to this day. I've also been on the Summer Nights Board of Directors 15, 17 years, and that's taught me a lot about municipal governance and really got me kind of interested in how to get involved. A unique skill I might bring to this board is I am a certified equal opportunity mediator, and so I think that's an important skill which would bring help working with citizens' concerns, especially when emotions and tensions are high. For several years now, I've been interested in getting involved and shaping the future of Meade County. And I've always kind of looked for the right time in life to do something, and so my wife and I feel that life's never going to slow down, so no time like the present, and I feel like that time is now. So I've been in the South Dakota National Guard for 23 years now. By trade, I'm a computer specialist, and and it's a rewarding career. But I'm also interested in more government and politics. Hopefully someday in my future. I'd be honored to be selected to serve Meade County, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. Is there any questions from the commission?
I've got a couple. Are you full-time guard?
I am, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you AGR?
Federal technician.
I would
Most
really
people wouldn't know the difference. I'm sorry.
I would, I would really like to talk to you also about that PSAP board. I'm sure Pat probably has already lobbied you on different issues.
We're working on a few issues with Meade County right now. For those that aren't aware, the Public Safety Communications Council, that is the governance for state radio, for emergency radio communications, and there's a few issues in Meade County already that we're working on. The dead zone, Bonacker Canyon, in fact, out by Piedmont. So getting the towers and the funding and everything for those has been a challenge, but really rewarding too, to see where we've come from.
Well, we're really hoping that the new radios that we bought will negate our having to buy into a tower. Just thought I would throw that out while you're here.
Yes.
Okay. Now that you've done that and you're our computer expert, what do you believe are the two main planning issues facing Meade County, and what suggestions would you have towards solving these problems?
As I think a lot of people have mentioned today, zoning. I think that's probably one of the biggest issues in light of the limestone mine that was just announced by Piedmont, and I believe another one was just announced the other day. I think the citizens may have more appetite now for some sort of zoning, or maybe there's a better or alternative way to bring something like that forward. I too believe in property rights. I believe that you should be able to do on your own property what you desire, but I don't think you should be able to affect your neighbor or negatively affect your neighbor. I think that's an interesting and unique balance that you all face, on these faces this county. But I think zoning's probably one of the hardest one. Trying to think if there's any other issues that. Growth, I think the way the communities grow, I know that there's some annexations issues out towards Piedmont. That's an interesting dilemma. They don't want to be annexed, and then they do want to be annexed. And so maybe not facing the county as much, but municipal growth, I think, is probably one of the biggest.
Well, have you had any business with the planning office in the last decade? And do you plan on having any future growth plans as far as development or anything in the future?
My experience with the staff here has always been excellent. Meade County's just always been an amazing experience to deal with the staff. Researched a lot when I was first in Blackhawk. There was a neighbor decided to cut the hill that divided our property and made a cliff, and so that was kind of an interesting dilemma that we'd worked for. I worked with the planning, researching, plotting, all that kind of stuff. And now going forward, my property outside of Piedmont is 1 2-acre lot away from being in Piedmont, and so just researching, plotting, and ordinances. And all of that has got me some experience with the staff, but I've never been a developer or contractor working. For future plans, we have talked about and had our land surveyed to possibly subdivide sometime in the future, but nothing definitive.
So on the zoning side, that's obviously a challenge for the county. Came up a number of years ago. Do you think that's something that the government should bring, or do you think that's something the citizens should bring?
An interesting question. I believe, sir, you brought it to these conversations with them, and maybe the original attempt for zoning was too strict, and there might be some options for that. But I do agree that it needs to be brought up by the citizens more than
And then obviously the time is my other question for you.
my schedule. I have a very supportive employer. Working for the government, so
Making sure.
yes, I can make time as needed. You know, I also have 3 children, and so obviously that takes up time. But very supportive home life that allows me to serve.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Goodwin. Would you be interested in the 9-month term?
Absolutely, it'd be an honor, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for applying and coming in today.
Thank you.
That leaves number 8, Mr. Scott Norman.
Good morning.
morning,
My
Mr.
name's
Norman.
Scott Norman. My family and I moved to Somerset roughly 5 years ago through work. But I was born in Rapid City, grew up just on the other side of the Black Hills in Newcastle. But I did attend South Dakota School of Mines here in town, where I obtained my civil engineering degree back in '06. And since that time, basically spent the last 20 years of my career in various facets of planning and strategic planning, long-range planning. So that's where I really feel like I could add value to this board. I'm on a few other strategic planning boards through my church, through my kids' hockey organization. So I think, Doreen, I think you hit it pretty well on the head of, glutton for punishment. But, that unfortunately, the harvest is plentiful and the workers are few. So we need folks to step up and be responsible about what that business is and provide clear guidance. And I mean, I know you're going to get to these questions here in a minute, so I won't jump the gun on that. But really looking about planning, having that long range vision, and trying to do the short range planning to meet that vision, I think is really important. Through various facets of my adult career in different boards, there's a very common theme of the short range, I guess, year to year, month to month decisions ultimately affect the long-term vision and guidance, and too much, white noise or direction or lack of direction in the short term really affects the long term. So I think I could be of add value of that. I've got young children. I plan to be in Meade County for a long, long time. I think I've done all my moving through my earlier part of my career, moving to a couple of places of Gillette, Wyoming, and Laramie, Wyoming. So I got to see a lot of different governments and cities and how they're running, and different counties to that effect too. One being Gillette, Wyoming, rapid growth. That's something that I do think is an issue with Meade County, and handle that responsibly and effectively. So that, I think, of seeing that and getting to experience that for a number of years definitely would help on that. But open questions. I don't want to go on a soapbox and read my resume off, but.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. Any questions from the commission?
Well, first of all, before I ask you any questions, but since you're the last person up, I want to thank all of you. I have just been amazed at the quality of the applicants that we've had for these positions. And I wish we had a giant board. We could put all of you to work in various facets. And I would love that if anyone does not get selected today, they do not hesitate to ever reapply or to come help us in any manner in which, because you all have so much talent and experience. And since you've been sitting back there and you listen to the other 7, you know what 2 questions I'm going to ask, and so then you have a heads up. What do you think those 2 problems are, and how would you address them since you're a strategic planner?
So, I think a lot of the folks before me were spot on. with their responses, and I'm going to echo pretty much the same thing. The number one thing is the growth. As you guys are all aware that in Pennington County and to the east, there's limited growth and direction that way. So a lot of that bleed over from Pennington County is coming up through I-90 corridor up towards Piedmont, Somerset, and Sturgis, and that needs to be handled in a good manner with good ordinances and I'm guessing you're going to ask a zoning question, so I'm gonna wait on that for a second.
Might not. I'm mixing it up, man.
Okay. But you know, having proper layering of those tools to give citizens and board proper guidance, I think, is a good thing. The second thing on to your question of you know, on the zoning and ordinances, there's definitely a need for that, not only from the citizen side, but from business owners and ranchers as well, to give them a clear direction and rules and regulations that they can live and abide by. You know, I know here lately on the Pennington or the Piedmont side of things, on the mining side, you know, a lack of ordinances and zoning would have helped a lot of those issues in giving clear guidance to those citizens. So I think that's something to work forward and do it in a responsible manner. I mean, there isn't a one size fits all. So trying to use some of those as a layering effect of letting a zoning, you know, dictate a larger parcel and an ordinance within that, and then of course variances within those ordinances.
Okay. Due to your resume, I'm going to have a couple of other follow-up questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I assume, although it does not specify, your experience with Pete Lean and Sons.
Yep.
How do you believe that would impact your decision making if Meade County develops a mining ordinance? Because I think it's very evident that that's coming.
Mm-hmm.
What insight? And could you lend, and do you believe you could lend that without having a conflict?
Yep. No, that's a great question, and I anticipated that. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in mining, and I currently advise on that right now. I mean, from the ethical side of things, you know, some of those decisions, you know, trying to recuse myself from that, and let the majority rule. But definitely got a lot of insight of, you know, good tools and practices to put in place for not only blasting, but environmental impact. A lot on the permitting side of things. So really, I think one of the fundamental things that I've kind of seen through what's going on in Piedmont right now is lack of education and communication from all parties, and you know, trying to relay some of that experience and the insight, but at the same point in time, ethically try to remove myself when that situation arises where I need to.
Well, sometimes it's very difficult because that insight and experience can help lend a pathway to solving a problem, but can also accuse you of self-involvement, which people can't solve problems if they don't know all the facts on both sides.
Right. Yep.
So along with all of this, I assume you've had business with Meade County Planning in the past.
So
and probably will in the future.
So oddly enough, in the past, probably the last 5 years, I've only had a discussion with Troy Eastman one time on an approach off Anderson Road. All the other business is pretty much in place for our company. The next 5 years, I don't anticipate anything new, at least that I'm aware of today. So I don't really see there being a huge impact there.
Well, I've monopolized enough of your time. I'm now going to turn you over to a fellow Newcastle native.
Yep.
Did you go to school together?
We did.
I knew it.
Couple years apart. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he's older.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Are you registered PE and
Box Elder and also in Meade County, around the Somerset area, and we ultimately landed on Somerset due to home prices, had a nice quiet feel to it, and had good churches and schools. So, but yeah, it's inevitable that will impact, and as that mission kicks off here in the coming years, especially on the schooling side of things, I think that's going to be a real challenge for Meade County, trying to keep up with that.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. And would you be interested in serving on the short term?
Yeah.
If asked. So,
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for applying and coming in today. I just want to echo what Commissioner Creed had mentioned. This has been a phenomenal set of candidates for this position. And I really want to thank you all for seeking involvement in the county. This has been since I've been on the board, we haven't had a group of candidates that's going to be this tough a decision. That's for sure. But thank you guys. I think we'll have some things to discuss as a board as far as these interviews and the applications go, and so we'll make a decision later on in the meeting. In order to get through this agenda item, though, I'd like to, we do also have the other appointments, Weed and Pest Board. We have one person that has applied for that position. I'll let you guys have a break when we get through this, but let's get through this part first. Corey Levine has put his name in. He is the incumbent in that spot. If anybody else has anybody else there they'd like to appoint, otherwise, in a motion to appoint Corey for another 3-year term.
I'll make a motion to appoint Corey. The location. I mean, there's districts for the weed.
There's districts for the Weed and Pest Board, and one commissioner, that is me. I serve on that board as well.
Corey does a good job. So.
Corey does a good job, and he's a direct neighbor of me, and he does a good job as a neighbor as well.
I didn't say it because he's your neighbor.
I second it.
He's a good guy. Motion second to appoint Corey Levine to another 3-year term.
In spite of the fact that he lives next to it.
Yeah. You make sure you have no weeds, right?
Right. He does a good job. Motion is second. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I will congratulate Corey this evening. Meade County Housing and Redevelopment Committee, which is a 5-year term. Brett Lanas is put his name in for that position. Does anybody have anybody else to nominate? If not, I get a motion to appoint Brett.
I appoint Brett. I believe he's been on there since the building was built.
I'll second.
A motion is second on the floor to appoint Brett to that board. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mental Health Board, there's one name, Christy Cricket Palmer. Is that the Board of Mental Illness? Is that two different boards?
It's the same one.
Okay. Is it two people? I see there's been a recommendation from Karen Page Hunt. Is there two positions up for that this year?
Well, Karen is like the
I understand, but she put a recommendation in for Mr. Ron Merwin as well as Christy Cricket Palmer. So I'm just asking if there's two positions up.
There's only one position open. It's an annual appointment, actually. Ron Merwin he's an incumbent. He's been on the board for many years. Ms. Palmer is being recommended due to a death of another board member.
Oh, okay. So there is two positions open. Okay, thank you. Unless somebody has somebody else they would like to nominate for this position, I'd recommend a motion to appoint Ms. Palmer and Mr. Merwin.
Is this to fill Dan Mayer's position? Oh.
Move to approve Mr. Merwin and Mrs.
Second.
Motion is second on the floor to approve Mr. Merwin and Ms. Palmer. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there anybody, Mr. Commissioner Wyzorek, I know you were going to reach out to someone on the MPO board. We don't.
That's still pending.
Okay, as of now, we have nobody else that's put their names in.
That's a restricted territorial. It's only a small part of Meade County.
I wonder if any of the people who have applied for the planning position also live in that district, Talbot. Those boundaries.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Okay.
If that's a board that you'd be interested in, get with Commissioner Wyzorek, or are you in that district as well?
I am, yep.
So get with these two commissioners and visit with them. They can fill you in on that board. I really don't know much about that board.
Maybe Talbot could, or one of them could give the boundaries.
So I think the MPO boundary goes up through Piedmont, I believe.
Yeah, I think it almost gets to Tilford and then kind of way over. Yeah, it doesn't quite go straight east from there. It drops after a while, but
what
picks up Box Elder.
What does that board consist of if somebody's interested?
Well, there's quarterly meetings in Rapid City where they take civilian input on road projects within the MPO.
That is Box Elders, Rapid Cities, Somerset's, Piedmont.
Metropolitan Planning Organization.
So if anybody's interested, visit with Commissioner Liggett and Commissioner Wyzorek, and we will make sure you're considered for that position. We do have a couple people that have expressed interest in the library board, so we'll have to have some interviews for that. I was going to seek direction on a process for interviews. It certainly gets tough. I think planning is a different animal. I think it's important to see that people have the time to get here for interviews in the day, but some of these other boards, maybe they usually meet in the evenings, a lot of them do, so I think it might be appropriate if we could appoint a commissioner or two to handle some of these interviews. And I'm just putting that out there. That's my opinion, but you guys, as I've seen, have opinions too. So I'm just seeking direction on that. That's the only one thus far that we've that we're going to be leaving open. They don't meet until January 28th, so I thought it'd be appropriate to possibly after the first year, a couple of us could be assigned to take interviews for that. Direction from the board.
Yeah, so this is for the
Sturgis
Library,
board,
and
yes.
it's not a governmental position per se. It's just a position that the Sturgis Library lets us put somebody in. That represent the county position.
Yes.
So I think, frankly, if Commissioner Creed would be willing to do that, he would know. She's more familiar with Sturgis, what's going on in Sturgis than.
Why, thank you.
Well, are.
I would agree. Would you be willing to do that, Commissioner Creed? Sure. Okay. So if you want to get together, just Rhea, and try to get those. Be
organized. Happy to.
Okay. Thank you for taking that task on. You were nicer to Talbot than the last time when I tried to give you a task, it seems like. I don't know.
Let's see, what was that?
I can't remember. So that's part of the agenda. I do see, before we take a break, Treasurer's up here, and she's very, very busy, so I'd like to handle her part of the agenda as well before we take a break. Good morning, Ms. Shrake.
Good morning, Robin Shrake, Meade County Treasurer. On the screen, you can see the KPI report that I submitted for the month of November. I can answer any questions if anyone has anything.
Any questions on the Treasurer KPI? If not, let's move down to C2 in the agenda, which is consideration of the Treasurer's office hours, which we've visited before in the past. I think we asked for you to bring this back up at this meeting.
Yes, absolutely. The Treasurer's office is doing well with having a 4:30 closure. It does allow us some time to call back people that call us during the day when we are in front of other customers. So we do utilize that time to call back, to do any mail-in, also to just get everything balanced so we're out of here at a halfway decent time shortly after 5 o'clock. I would like to continue to do that if at all possible.
Other than a commissioner's son who got here at 4:45, have you had any issues from it, or have you had anybody from the public, disgruntled public? Yes, he didn't get in. That's fine. No.
I came
No,
last time.
none that I'm aware of.
No, I mean, what's the public? Are you hearing anybody saying that you wish you're open until 5?
Nothing. No, we have it posted. We've been doing this ever since April of 2020. Well, this April. We haven't had any issues with it. I think we've gotten it out there where we have it posted on the door along with, in front of the office.
My understanding is there's still issues with the state on all of this.
This is true. Yes, we are still having some issues. They have not pushed yet forth us scanning stuff into the 605 drive system. I don't know when that's going to happen. We have still been scanning and putting it on our server, so if the state does not get something, we are able to find that image on our side. Hopefully they'll be uploading that on the 605 drive system, so when you do come in, do any title work, we're clicking it onto the 605 drive system.
Have they got most of the patches into the system? Or is it still a continual?
Every day, I just came from an issue 15 minutes ago where we were trying to do a mobile home. It would not allow us to transfer a mobile home without putting excise tax on it. And it had already, we always know that a new mobile home or something that's coming into the state is subject for that excise tax. We found a workaround. Karina was able to click a different button and then click a button, but we never know from one day to the next what that combination can be. So we are still manipulating the system.
But the state still is addressing various issues.
This is correct. Yes, they are. It's getting misplaced, either in Milwaukee, either being shredded by the machine itself in Denver. I just can't take that chance. We have to take that into our own hands, hence the reason why we're going to do speedy delivery. We're going to have them come in once a week, pick up our title work, and they will drop it at the door in Pier, and it will get signed. So then we know that those documents are safe.
Thank you. Is there any question, in particularly on the office hours? Before us today, we have on the agenda is the decision to make whether we want to keep the office hours as recommended by our treasurer from 8 to 4:30. It's open to the public. Any discussion or any action on that?
I'm fine with the 4:30. Do we want to set an end or a time to revisit this?
Certainly fine. We put it at Treasurer Shake's discretion, and we said the time was through the end of the year, which is so we have to make a decision today.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to continue the 8 to 4:30 time through June of 2026. Just come back in and double check again. At some point, the state's got to get it figured out.
I got a second to that motion.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor to keep the office hours open to the public from 8 to 4:30 until, I'm sorry, what was your time limit?
Through June, so half a year.
Through June. So you'll be back to us at the end of May, I assume. Or you'll have to be. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So, thank you.
I wonder, I realize that this is out of our agenda order, but since they are so tied up downstairs, we do have on our assignment thing a kiosk on the treasurer's office. I wonder if we could have her just give us a brief overview on that while she's here so she doesn't have to come back.
Sure.
You mind?
I go ahead, Treasurer Shrake.
Okay. What I do know about the kiosks, there are 3 kiosks down in Pennington County, one at the old treasurer's office, one out at the DMV where you can get your driver's license out on Catron Drive, and then they also have one in the South Dakota Department of Revenue office, the campus right behind Lowell's. There's another kiosk that's available in Spearfish. That being said, when I had called the state regarding kiosks, they said that they don't have any available. They have to get the money from, it has to be voted on by the legislative board in Pierre. So she doesn't have the permission from the Senate and the House to go ahead and do that. She is opting this year, when legislative session gets back in session, of course, she's going to ask for 2 more units. One of those, if she does get the permission to get that, one of those are already committed into another county. There would be one available. Whether we would be able to get that, do not know. These are paid by the state. She has had other counties and municipalities that are looking at them. She is looking at possibly having where we would buy underneath their,
auspices.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say, that we could get one. It would be 6 months out. Those units cost $110,000. It's going to take $25,000 per year to maintain. That's to bring somebody out every month to supply it with paper, ink, all the necessary stuff. And then if we would have to move it, it has to have a cell phone connection, a good cell phone connection, because that's how they tap into it. So if we would have to move that anytime, that would cost us $2,500 to move that. But yeah, the initial amount to get a unit would be $110,000, and then $25,000 every year to maintain it.
So then yesterday you found out that they can only be bought through the state.
Yes.
That's a whole new...
And I'm sure that they have to interface it with their...
Yeah, I understand the interface, but I would have assumed that they would have allowed counties to do it on their own.
One thing that I was really surprised at, the one that's out at the motor vehicle on Catron Drive is not open 24/7. The one that's in the South Dakota Department of Revenue, they are open from 2 o'clock in the morning until 12 o'clock midnight. So it's not quite a 24-hour, but it's pretty dang close. And that's what the state would want us to do, is obligate to a 24-hour. We would also have to have some security. I think the perfect place, if we did, do something like this, would be by the front door and then have it, locked in and with cameras on it. We're going to have to look at cameras. We're going to have a lockbox on that internet. Yeah. Okay. And that would be something that we'd have to discuss later.
Yeah, this is all great discussion, but it's obviously a later conversation.
Right.
Yeah. It'll be, as Commissioner Creed mentioned, it's coming up in our assignments, which is we'll assign things for budget for our budget for next year. Our budget's already been complete, so this is not in the budget for this year. So we'll have to supplement the budget. So to even make the process work, we'll have to have a hearing on whether we want to supplement the budget, and first we'll have to find out if we have a need for it first. But then and then we'll decide if we want to supplement the budget, and then possibly order it. But it sounds like we're a ways off from that.
Yeah.
So anything else to add on that? I don't think that's kind of like I said, we're a ways from this conversation, but while we're here. Okay, if nothing else, let's take a break here. He only has a highway traffic count, so.
Yeah, I've got a couple things to cover.
Yep, okay. Brings us down to on our agenda is the auditor ready.
I was earlier.
He had a Grinch come in. Let's call this meeting back to order. Let's go down. Brings us into our agenda is D1, the highway. Traffic count analysis is the only thing up on the agenda. 127th, 130th, 203rd, and done. Any questions or comments on those roads? Not. Does anybody have anything else for highway? I have one item I'd like to ask a question on.
Go ahead, and then I'll cover some.
Certainly, I've gotten a few calls, emails on the stop sign that was put in on Elk Vale and Elk Creek Road. It was placed, I think, originally because work done on the bridge. Is that the intent? I think technically signs need action, but I think as for safety reasons, we can put signs up at any time. I know, Commissioner Liggett, I think you had a conversation with Sheriff West, and you want. I'm just asking
Sure.
where that came from so I can inform people of the public when I get asked.
You bet. So I asked for that sign to be put in, and the reason is when I talked to the Sheriff West and the Highway Department about the increase of traffic to the gun range, so that stop is the same as the stop on Haynes and Elk Creek, four-way stop. It is intended to slow traffic down. The speed limit on Elk Vale going north of Elk Creek is also reduced past the gun range. Part of that is due to that bridge. The bridge was hit. Obviously, I think it was probably a speed-related issue. We don't know that because nobody stayed around to find out what happened to the bridge. But in conversations with others, and obviously with you, Gary, we are going to put another stop ahead sign, probably pre the cemetery up there. But yeah, Earl and I have both talked about that intersection, the Elk Creek Elk Vale intersection, going out to the gun range. It is a four-way, yep. Yeah. So, one of the concerns is coming down the hill is, in the winter, whether or not people can stop. That's the issue, regardless. I've slid through that location, coming to meetings. I've been driving that road for 10 years, and yeah. But yeah, and part of it is, that in 10 years I've been driving that road, kind of got used to it not being a stop sign, and I was in with putting the stop sign in, and I forgot about it the other day. So
yeah, it happens.
It happens, but I think in the general scheme of the world, as traffic increases and we get all the town traffic coming out to the range, hopefully we have a reduced crash rate there. So.
Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. Those are two very busy roads. And, that's just, anytime you add a sign on a corner, change it up, it takes people a while to get used to it. One at Elk Creek used to be, Erickson and Peaceful used to be a yield sign, and it took me a couple months to stop yielding and actually stopping.
So we are going to try to put another stop ahead sign up. I talked to Troy about that today. Hopefully we'll get a flasher on top of that too. So.
Possible flasher on the stop sign, I think, would be good. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to cover that because, like I said, I get a few calls on that one. Sure. And it is, I would agree with the stop ahead one that the stop ahead currently comes up really fast. It's right after you get over that hill, especially at night. So I think it would be wise to put one more and maybe a flashing one and maybe a flashing stop sign. And you said you had some things.
Yeah, I do. So I reached out to South Dakota DOT on New Underwood. We have not heard back on the grant for the survey and the engineering portion yet. Secretary Junt's response was he keeps hearing soon. So he anticipates early next year is the answer. And as everybody from the 3 states here, we had a lot of wind. We also lost a lot of signs. So if you see that signs were knocked down, please notify Highway Department. We had signs and trees in a number of areas. I know that the team has been working to get that cleaned up, but be patient with them. It's a big county and a lot of signs. So the other one, this year we will be starting Haynes construction, and I'm thinking that's probably going to be March, April. Troy is working on finding that, or working with them on that date, but I anticipate probably March, April before that construction starts. So, I think that's all I have.
Okay, anything else for Highway? Commissioner Severn, you're also a liaison to that department. You have anything to add? No. Thank you. Anything else?
One thing I would say, it'd be nice when they're out there checking signs. There are some signs that tree growth is getting and blocking them, like the one that jumps out is like right on Erskine Ranch Road. Stop ahead signs covered when the tree is out, and whether we need to be doing some cutting back. That one didn't blow down, but Interstate had quite a few.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and I know that they just went through Elk Vale and cut all the trees in the road ditches, so they are, as they have time, they are working.
Okay, anything else for Highway? If not, we'll move on to E1, equipment surplus sales. It appears there's an auction on Purple Wave. This is a list of items from the Highway Department as well as the Sheriff's Department. Is that correct, Rhea? Yes. So they are asking us, Ken, maybe you can chime in on this process quick.
Sale of public auction is allowed. You can use the Purple Wave. We still need an appraisal, either by 3 property owners or a hired appraiser. When you're doing the sale, you're supposed to post the appraised value as well. The difference with the public auction is there's no limitation on the bottom end of the price unless you set one. Other auctions, you're at 90% of appraised value, things like that. But this is a good way to just get rid of it because there's no bottom end.
Okay, any questions on that or action to surplus these items that are listed?
Make a motion to surplus the listed items.
Second.
Motion and second to surplus the listed items. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Brings us down to planning, F1, which is contract with HDR Engineering Professional Services. I don't, Commissioner Liggett, do you have?
Yeah, I'm going to abstain from conversation.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if we can go back to the surplus, I would suggest you make a motion to surplus by public auction. First you surplus, then you do the method of disposal. So authorize appraisal and
So could I get another motion
auction.
to surplus by public auction?
Motion that the surplusing of the listed property be done by public auction.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion to that motion? Would that be the intent to take the place of the original motion, or should we just?
No, we.
Yes. Okay. That's just want to be clear with when we do minutes. So any. Yes. Okay. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
It's a necessary service we need to have.
Any other questions, comments, and/or action on this? Motion is second to approve this contract with HDR. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Fig. Brings us down to G, Commission. Have a Christmas card from Black Hills Works, as well as Northern Hills Diversion. Have anything to add to that?
Yeah, a couple, or one item, I guess, is we're getting some comments on the game fish and parks noise from the gun range. I've asked the sheriff, and he has not had any contact with anybody. The ordinance 56 says they can have you can shoot during on the shooting range portion, the public shooting range portion, half an hour after sunrise and then a half hour before sunrise. And I believe it's distincted in the ordinance between the public side and then the private side, or the paid side. There's a, and I'm gonna ask Ken on that one, but you don't have to today, Ken. I'll get with you. But they do provide some services outside of the public side. So I have asked John Canta with the Game Fish and Parks to have that conversation with me, and more to come. But I am following up on it. It's just,
As I recall, we wrote into the ordinance that they could do special training off an hour separate from that, and do some limited stuff into it. So,
go ahead.
Sorry. No, just we could get shooting outside of those hours.
and I mean, I do hear the range from my place, but I also hear the three in my neighborhood more prominent than that one.
And it's the noise. It's written in the ordinance. The noise, in particular, is at the property line. A certain decibel at the property line. Is that, or is it the nearest residence?
20 feet from the nearest residence at 64 decibels, I believe. It's written in the ordinance.
And so a noise is fairly tough to find because it's got to happen when the person, whether it's a deputy, is out there.
And yeah, that probably becomes a code enforcement issue, and instead of maybe a sheriff's issue. Again, I'll work with Cannon.
But either way, either a deputy or a code enforcement officer would have to be there.
Because of his kids, or because of the noise, or what?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, it doesn't seem to bother me, and maybe it's I don't hear that range as good as I used to. Like I said, the ones in my neighborhood I can hear, but it again doesn't seem to affect my daily.
So you're saying you're finding private non-game fish and parks gun shooting more disturbing than that's coming out of the GF&P?
At my house
area.
But and it depends on the wind. If the wind's blowing one way, I might hear it, and if the wind's blowing the other way, I don't hear it. I've talked to people in Golden Valley that hear it. I've talked to people out in Royal Run that hear it. So, yeah, you're going to hear it. It's a gun range. So
I hear my neighbor's bass until 10 p.m.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, noise is a funny thing.
It is.
I mean, have some. My office is by Main Street Square. In the morning, the music band is coming up square, but as soon as it gets skaters on, because of the extra noise, it doesn't become a problem. It just my house, I'm 6-7 miles from the interstate. I'll hear the interstate.
It's funny. In the fall, I hear the calves and they've been separated from their mothers. And for some reason, it just seems like, oh, you know, a season of life. You know, it's continuing on, and you just know it's that time of year. But this year, I haven't heard hardly any hunting rifles. But
anything else? I guess
I hear sirens.
We've jumped down into the commission updates. Is there any other updates from the commissioners?
Ours will address in
Yep, I know Commissioner Creed and I have been working pretty hard with the sheriff and the jail administrator and HR as far as trying to figure out our jail medical. Anybody else have anything?
I did get some complaints about some signs, trees, stuff like that, and I understand that windstorm was unique, to say the least, but I think we also got to give the highway department a little bit of a break there, out busting their butts and working hard. And I get that everybody wants their areas cleaned right now, their signs up, but it's a due process, and these guys are out there. I've talked to Troy, I've seen his guys out there, and I would just caution people on the backside of this to let them do their work, and let us know if you do have signs and stuff down, but, you know, try not to get on these guys too bad. They're doing the best they can with the mess that was left behind from this storm, so kudos to those guys.
It kind of reminds me of a post I saw on Facebook, and that was if, you know, we'd lived on the coast, they'd say we had a hurricane. Here, it was just simply, you know, it was that day of the week. I know Black Hills Energy is still working. I didn't realize that even in the Rapid City areas up around Chapel Hill and all that, UPS people are having to walk in packages and everything because roads are still blocked and stuff. I was surprised.
Yeah, and it was such a widespread